Hello and welcome to the Alcohol Recovery Show, where we discuss practical, actionable steps for anyone who wants to achieve their dream of getting and staying well, happy and free from any form of alcohol dependence. Hello and welcome to the Alcohol Recovery Show. Today I want to talk about something that's very modern, very useful, perhaps a bit unsettling, and let's be honest, maybe a bit too clever for its own good. And that is AI, artificial intelligence. Now, don't get me wrong, I realise that AI can be really, really helpful. It can help you put a shopping list together, organise your week, perhaps write a formal complaint. But let me say this right from the start, I find it helpful and I appreciate it. Today, I want to talk about something important, and that's the danger of using AI in alcohol recovery, especially if it starts replacing counselling, recovery groups, sponsors, trusted friends, or real human support. So I'm underlining the fact I realise AI can be a brilliant tool, but it's not a person. And recovery needs people, real people. In fact, I'd go further than that. I'd say the connection is one of the greatest antidotes to addiction. Now, of course, it's not the only one. We might need medical support, therapy, recovery programs, spiritual practices, perhaps medication, rest, nutrition, proper conversations and self-reflection, but connection is central. And addiction isolates. Recovery reconnects. Addiction might whisper to us, keep this a secret. But recovery will say, tell someone safe. Addiction might say, you can handle this on your own. But recovery says, you were never meant to handle it on your own. Addiction says, nobody would understand. And recovery says, come into the room, we've been waiting for you. But the reasons why I'm concerned particularly about AI is that it becomes another private place where we take all of our fear, shame, cravings, grief, loneliness, confusion, not to an actual human being who can witness our feelings around all of that. And if we can't do that, then going to AI might accidentally increase the very isolation that addiction feeds on. Now, I was thinking about this episode shortly after having a conversation with a very dear friend of mine who's known me for 35 years. 35 years. Now, that's a long time. That's not someone who just knows the polished version of me, but it's someone who remembers things like the questionable haircuts, the bad decisions, the family patterns, people in my family or friendship group that have passed away now, my history, blind spots, and knows how to detect that particular tone of voice that says, I'm absolutely fine when you're not. And that's the thing about a real friend. My friend knows me, she knows my story, she knows what I've been through, and she knows when I'm likely to minimise something that might be going on in my life. She knows when I'm being brave, and she knows when I'm avoiding something. And that's important. But perhaps even more important than all of that is that she doesn't always say exactly what I want her to say. And sometimes that's a bit annoying. It can be very inconvenient having emotionally healthy people in your life, but it's also a real gift. So a real true friend, a good counsellor, an effective sponsor, a supportive recovery group, or a trusted person can sometimes say gently and lovingly, are you sure that's what's really going on? Or do you think that's really true? Or do you think you might be avoiding something here? And in recovery, we need that. Of course, we need warmth. We need validation. But we also need challenge. Not harshness, not shame or criticism for its own sake. We certainly don't need someone standing over us with a clipboard saying, well, it's all your fault, isn't it? Absolutely not. We don't need that. Most of us have had enough of that already. We don't need someone who's just going to be garishly challenging. But we do need some gentle challenge. Because one of the uncomfortable truths of recovery is this: whether we like to think about this or not, our own thinking got us into quite a bit of trouble. So our own thinking might need to be challenged sometimes. And it doesn't mean that we're stupid or bad. It just means that when alcohol has become part of the way that we cope, escape, numb, celebrate, survive, avoid, reward ourselves or punish ourselves or disappear, our thinking around alcohol can become very distorted. It can become a bit slippery. It can become very persuasive. And it can become like a tiny barrister in the brain defending the bottle with surprising eloquence. You've had a hard day. You deserve just one. It's only wine, or you'll stop tomorrow, or you're not as bad as other people, or nobody needs to know. And the dangerous thing is that in the moment, those thoughts can sound completely reasonable. So that's why recovery can't just be a private conversation with ourselves. Because the self that's trying to recover and the self that is trying to drink uses the same brain and the same mouth. We need other people to help us hear the difference between our recovery voice that's trying to help us to be the best we can be, and the person who wants to stay drinking. Now, AI can sound very kind. It can be very helpful. Perhaps most helpfully, it's available at 3 a.m. when nobody else is awake except you and your anxious thoughts. But AI doesn't know you in that deep human way like my friend knows me. AI doesn't remember your life. AI doesn't love you or have any emotional attachment. It hasn't got a stake in your recovery. It doesn't get worried about you. And this is an important one. It wouldn't miss you if you disappeared. It doesn't say, I know you and I think there's more going on here. And that really matters. Because alcohol recovery is not just about getting the information. It's about relationship and honesty. It's about being witnessed. It's about letting yourself be known by real people. Now, I'm not shaming anybody here. I completely understand why people are turning to AI for support. It's instantly available. It doesn't judge. It doesn't look shocked. It doesn't tut or sigh. It doesn't say things like, oh no, not this again. And it doesn't ask you to wait 6 weeks for an appointment. It doesn't ask you to walk into a room full of strangers and tell them the truth about what's going on with you. And that can be really hard. AI feels private. It feels safe, convenient. And if you're feeling ashamed or lonely or frightened or tempted to drink, it can really feel like a lifeline. For example, if you typed into AI, I want to drink tonight, it will answer you kindly. It'll answer calmly. And sometimes it might genuinely help you through a difficult moment. So this is not about shaming anyone for using AI. There's no shame in reaching for help. But there's a difference between using AI as a tool and using it as your main source of emotional support. Because let's face it, AI doesn't have any emotions. There's a difference between using AI to find a recovery meeting and using it because you don't have one to go to. There's a difference between using AI to organise your thoughts before counselling and using it instead of counselling. A counsellor will reflect back what you're saying, they will witness what you're saying, and there's something about that emotional rapport that AI doesn't have that is really quite healing. And that difference really matters. Now, alcohol problems love isolation. They love secrecy. They love it when you think, I'll handle this myself, or nobody needs to know. Alcohol problems love a quiet, private world where we can keep negotiating with ourselves and we get into that loop of arguing, going round and round. So if AI becomes another private place where we hide, then it may accidentally keep us stuck. Now, the first danger is that AI can sound very confident when it's actually not right. To be fair, plenty of humans can do this too. We've all met someone who can confidently explain a subject they learned about 12 minutes ago on YouTube. We get this all of the time. People become instant experts. But in alcohol recovery, wrong advice can be really serious. If someone has been drinking heavily for a long time, stopping suddenly can be dangerous. Withdrawal can be frightening and in some cases medically risky. And that's not something to casually hand over to a chatbot. AI cannot examine you, it can't check your blood pressure, it can't see your shaking hands or know your full medical history. It can't tell you whether your symptoms mean this is uncomfortable or you might need urgent help. If you think you might be physically dependent on alcohol, you need to speak to a doctor, an alcohol service or a qualified professional before stopping suddenly. Now, AI might help you to write down what you want to say. It might help you prepare for that type of conversation, but it should not be the professional you are relying on. Now, another danger is that AI can sometimes be just a bit too agreeable. It becomes a bit of an echo chamber. And in recovery, that could be a problem because addiction is very good at making a case for itself. You know the things that it'll say. It'll say things like, you're not that bad. You only drink wine, you've had a hard day, you deserve it, you'll stop tomorrow. That doesn't count because it's a special occasion, and then suddenly every occasion's special. Now, a real friend who knows you might gently challenge those types of statements. A counsellor would notice the pattern. A recovery group might say, yes, we recognise that voice too, that's happened to us. Don't listen to it. A sponsor might say, that sounds like your addiction talking. But AI often responds to the version of the story we give it. And when we are in addictive thinking, we may not give the full story. We might say, I've had a bit of a slip, when the fuller version is, I planned it, I bought it, I hid it, I drank it, I lied about it, I woke up ashamed, and now I want someone to tell me it wasn't that bad. Now let's get this straight. This is not because we're bad people. Let's just put all moralising to one side. This is about the addiction. And addiction is very cunning. Addiction edits, minimises, it bargains. It presents the evidence like a defence lawyer for the bottle. And if AI only hears the edited version, it may soothe us when what we really need is the truth. Now, if we are suddenly spiralling back into a relapse, that's when we need people who can lovingly interrupt the spiral. People who can look at us and know the signs. And they might say something like, take a break, eat something, go to a meeting, go to bed, call your sponsor. They might remind you not to make a permanent decision in a temporary state. They might remind you that your brain is telling you a story right now and to not treat it as a fact. That's gentle challenge and it could save us. Now, if you're using AI for recovery support, pause and ask yourself this question. Is this helping me be honest or is it helping me hide? Am I telling AI things I'm not telling any real person? Am I using it to avoid a difficult conversation? Am I asking the same question in different ways until I get the answer I want? Do I feel comforted but not challenged? Is AI helping me question my thinking or is it simply agreeing with it? And that last one matters because recovery does not always involve comfort. It involves accountability. And sometimes the most loving thing someone can say is not, oh, you poor thing. Sometimes it is, you deserve better than this, and I'm not going to help you pretend all of this is fine. So the danger is that AI can increase isolation, and isolation is not a neutral thing in addiction. Isolation is not just being alone, because sometimes being alone is healthy. We all need peace, rest, solitude, a cup of tea, maybe even just a retreat into a room for a little while if we live with other people. But isolation in addiction is different. It's secrecy. It's hiding. It's cutting ourselves off from the people who might notice. It's creating a private world where the addictive voice becomes the loudest voice in the room. And that's dangerous because addiction grows in isolation. It loves dark and silence. Recovery, on the other hand, grows in connection. Connection with other people gives us perspective when our thinking is warped. It gives us accountability when the motivation starts to waver. It gives us warmth when shame tells us that what we've done is disgusting. It gives us a sense of belonging when alcohol made our world very small and very lonely. So a recovery group, a counsellor, a sponsor, a trusted friend, a doctor, a helpline worker, these are not just sources of information, they're points of connection. Now, AI can create the illusion of a relationship without the reality of the relationship. It can sound warm, it can say kind things, it can remember what you've typed in the conversation, it can respond in a way that feels personal. And I'm not dismissing AI completely. Sometimes we need a kind response, even from a machine, and it might help someone through a lonely moment. But AI does not offer true human warmth. It doesn't offer reciprocity. And by reciprocity, I mean the back and forth of real relationships. A real friendship is not just one person pouring out their pain and the other person producing supportive paragraphs. Real relationship has history and affection, humour, perhaps a bit of irritation. It's got a memory. There might have even been misunderstandings and areas for forgiveness and laughter. And a real person brings themselves into the relationship. AI does not, because it's not a real person. It doesn't need you. It doesn't rejoice when you're doing well. It doesn't feel concern when you're slipping. And it doesn't get that little tug in the heart when it knows something's wrong. And we all need that. So if our main source of comfort becomes something that cannot truly know us, need us, love us, or be loved by us, we may end up more isolated than ever before. And that's especially worrying. Now, you're probably a bit like me. I've heard stories of people becoming overly attached to their AI bots. And I could sort of see how that could happen. If something's always available, always patient, always affirming, always there when you're feeling vulnerable, it can start to feel like the safest relationship in your life. But that safety is deceptive because it doesn't ask anything from you. It doesn't invite you into the mutual, messy, healing business of real human connection. And perhaps more importantly, it doesn't know you. AI can know what you tell it. But a real friend who's known you for some time knows you. A counsellor might hear you pause. A sponsor might recognise the excuses. A recovery group may understand the shame before you've even explained it. AI can only analyse patterns in text. It can't sit across you and say, I know this is hard for you because I know where it comes from. It won't say you went quiet last week and I felt worried about you. It won't ring you up. It won't text you out of the blue. And those sorts of things are really important because recovery isn't just about stopping drinking. It's about rebuilding trust. It's about allowing yourself to be seen, about learning you can tell the truth and not be abandoned. It's about discovering that your shame does not make you unlovable. So use AI. Use it to find a meeting, but go to the meeting. Use it to prepare what you want to say to a doctor or counsellor, but go and see the doctor or counsellor. Use it to question a thought you have, but then take that thought to someone who can help you challenge it properly. AI can be a bridge, but it shouldn't become a destination. Now, perhaps this is a simple safety rule, and that is to never rely on AI alone, especially if you are thinking about stopping heavy drinking suddenly, if you've got any withdrawal symptoms, if you feel at risk of harming yourself, if you feel out of control, or if you relapse and feel scared, if you're mixing alcohol with medication, or you are in an unsafe home situation, or perhaps hiding your drinking from everyone. If you're using AI instead of counselling, meetings, or talking to someone real, if you feel emotionally dependent on a chatbot, if you're using AI to avoid having your thinking challenged, definitely in those situations you need a real person. Not because AI is useless, it's not, it has its uses. It's very polite and it's got excellent punctuation, but it's not a substitute for human care. So here's a gentle challenge for you this week. If you are using AI, ask yourself, is this helping me connect or is it helping me hide? And also ask, is this helping me challenge my thinking or is it simply helping me defend it? That second question is important because in recovery, not every thought deserves a throne. Some thoughts need compassion or curiosity. Sometimes it might just need a nice herbal tea in an early night. Some thoughts need to be marched gently but firmly out of the building. The thoughts that say, oh, go on, just have one, or nobody cares, or I've ruined everything, so what's the point, or I don't need support, or I'll start tomorrow. These are the thoughts that need challenged. If you have thoughts like that, speak to a real friend. Look up a recovery meeting, book a counselling appointment, speak to your doctor or call a helpline. Tell one safe person the truth. Or if that feels too hard, use AI to help you draft the first sentence, something simple like, I'm struggling and I don't know how to deal with this. Or I'm having cravings. Could you check in with me? If you can't find the words, sometimes AI could perhaps help you find those words, but then send those words to a real person. So today I want to close this with the reassurance that there's no shame in using tools. And AI is a very useful tool. But please do use it amongst other tools, such as podcasts, books, apps, journals, routines, prayer, meditation, walking, music, warm beverages, things that you enjoy, whether that's dogs or blankets or whatever else helps you get through the evening without pouring alcohol onto your pain. But don't let AI become a replacement for real support, because as I've said, addiction thrives in isolation and recovery grows in connection. Addiction tells us to trust the thought that keeps us trapped, and recovery invites us to bring that thought into the light and let someone safe help us challenge it. And you deserve more than an algorithm. You deserve real warmth, care, challenge, laughter, and people who know you. AI can give you the words, but recovery needs human witness. And alcohol recovery at its deepest level is about coming out of isolation and back into life. So thank you for listening to the Alcohol Recovery Show today. Please take very good care of yourself. Until next time, bye.